So I guess I'll start off, instead of telling you the idea that I came up with, I'll kind of talk about a little bit about the backstory of what created the idea. Because I think a lot of us come up with our ideas out of pain, out of frustration, out of things that aren't working. So I knew early on when I was younger that I wanted to write. That's the first thing that came to me. I took creative writing in high school. I read Catcher in the Rye, thought I was in heaven, and I thought, I want to be a writer. And the creative writing teacher was gorgeous, so it was clearly a sign for me with my high school brain. And so I went home to share this fabulous news with my family that I had found my calling, that I wanted to be a writer. But I grew up in a Brooklyn, New York, Orthodox Jewish family. And so if you came home to share that you'd found your calling, you want to be a writer, this was not good news. You know, nobody said Mazel Tov. You know, I could have basically said, I want to sell cocaine, and it would have been heard the same way. You know, it would have been, you know, cocaine, sell your body, do something creative, all the same boat. You know, so my mother basically said, you're going to write? You're going to write? You're going to starve, you're going to write. And that was basically my go for your dreams talk. And I think a lot of us have gotten that same advice in different ways of don't do what you love, don't do what excites you, don't take a risk, be practical, stay safe, right? You know, play it safe. And I think we are living in times that it's not safe to play it safe anymore. The world is changing. There's conventional life is changing, and we really do need to take risks. We really do need to listen to that original impulse. But I didn't know that at the time, and so I did play it safe, and I went to law school, and I got accepted to Harvard Law School, and I graduated with honors from Harvard Law School, and I was on partnership track in a major law firm, and everything was going really, really well. My mother was bragging in every synagogue for all she was worth. My little girl, I don't want to tell you. Let me tell you, right? So everything's looking great, and you may have had this situation in your life where things are looking great externally, but inside you're dying. Inside it's not matching up. Because if you're creative, if you have an idea, if you have something unparalleled within you that you have to give this world, it doesn't work to deny it. It doesn't work to sit on it. But I didn't know that at the time, and I started being really miserable. I'd go into that law firm every single day and feel like, what am I doing here? And I really got to the place where I didn't want to live anymore. I got to that place of just feeling so depressed because I felt like, oh my God, I have everything this culture tells me I'm supposed to have, everything that you're supposed to have to make it, and I'm miserable, so something's wrong with me. And thank God, a friend of mine at the time said something amazing to me that opened up my whole world. It was the idea that set me down this path, and it became the basis of my first book, This Time I Dance. He said, think about it. If you've been this successful doing something you don't love, what could you do with what you do love, right? And so that opened me up. I thought, God, I want to find out where that could go if I really listen to myself, if I really listen to that heartbeat. And so I thought, you know, you get one life. I want to know where this goes. And so I finally got the guts, and I left my career as an attorney to decide to be a writer. And so I will tell you a little bit about the idea that started coming to me. I'm in the process now of I'm in big career transition, and I'm trying to figure out how to be a writer, how to make it, how to be a coach, how to launch all this stuff. And I'm reading every self-help book on the planet. You know, I am diving into them like for all I'm worth. You know, so I'm reading the 5 Easy Steps. You know, 30 days to your new life. And I'd be like, it's 80 damn days later, and I have the same exact life, and I have the same exact sweatpants, and I have more self-help books. And I thought, I am failing self-help. How is this possible? I am failing self-help. You know, like, what recourse is there now? Like, now where you go in a bookstore, right? You know, so, but then I finally had the idea that maybe self-help was failing me, that maybe all of a sudden it dawned on me that there was this book that I wanted to read that wasn't out there. I wanted to know, how do you stay on fire? How do you stay connected with who you are and what you want to give this world when you're scared? How do you do that? And I wanted to hear the personal junk and the personal stories, because I'd get mad. Everybody was wrapping up their lives by page 3, and so I realized I want to write this book. I want to write the book that I need to read. So I talked to different agents and I talked to different people in the industry, and you may have hit something like this where they started telling me it doesn't fit any category. It doesn't fit into the categories that are out there. So in the publishing world, you could do self-help, and then you have to be an expert, and you do the 8 practices and 5 steps and that kind of thing. Or you could do memoir. And memoir is, the real story, the heart, the heat, the raw stuff, but not instruction, not anything that teaches the reader. And I wanted to do both. I wanted to give both in the world in a single book. And they basically said, that's not going to sell. So I thought about compromising it, and I'm sure we all think about compromising. And I thought about, okay, maybe I'll fit it into a category and make it work. But I had already tried that in my writing career beforehand. I had tried thinking, well, maybe I'll do articles, like I'll sell an article really quickly, I'll do bylines really quickly, and I won't go after doing a book, because the book is what I really, really, really wanted to do. But I thought, well, be safe, be practical. And what I learned is that when you compromise your desire, you compromise your strength. If you compromise what you really, really want, you're going to compromise your strength to get it. So when I was doing the articles, I'd get all these, rejection letters as a writer and, people rejecting it. And I didn't have the stamina to keep going because it's not what I really, really wanted. So I finally realized with writing a book, I had to write what I really, really wanted to do. I spent 12 years writing this book, and I went through every convolution of failure you can imagine to do this. And I will tell you how I got it into the world. And my theme in this is that you can't plan an inspired life. You can't plan an inspired life. You're not gonna think about it beforehand. So what I learned was that I kept having to follow that heat. And so I finally realized I'm going to self-publish the book. I'm going to put it out there. I love what he said of ideas or usage, get into oxygen, just get it into the world. I decided, instead of selling an agent, to sell a publisher, to sell the public, I'll just sell the public, right? So I finally did that. I finally self-published the book. I got it into the world. It started moving through word of mouth because people respond to passion. People respond to your energy. And so, I'm trying to remember now what I wanted to say with that. Oh, yes. And so what happened first was it started hitting the bestsellers list through word of mouth completely. It started spreading around. And it hit the Denver Post bestseller list. It hit the business bestseller list. And then 4 months after I self-published, I got an email out of the blue that said, your fairy godmother has arrived. Look at this. Your fairy godmother has arrived. Who gets an email like that? I thought, of course, it was spam. You get an email, your fairy godmother has arrived, right? I thought it was spam. I thought, I'm going to open it up and it's going to be, Russian girls are waiting for you. There's money for you in Nairobi. Just give us your credit card information immediately, right? So I thought it was that, but it was actually a vice president of marketing and publicity for Random House. And she was in the middle of a career transition, and she had somehow found my self-published book. And by the way, I will also tell you that I spent 12 years going through all this stuff and figuring out what I wanted to do and writing this book. This is at the end of 12 years that she has this meltdown and is having this career transition. She finds my book, she writes to me, and she says, this is the best book I've ever read on finding your calling, on doing your passion, on career transition. I want to help you get it published by a major New York house, which to a writer is like saying, I want to help you meet God, pretty much. And so she got it to the publisher that I had always dreamed of, which was Torture, part of Penguin. She got it to the president of the company, and they bought the book exactly the way that it was. They bought it exactly, they didn't change the writing, they didn't change the editing, they kept the title. As an unknown writer, had I done it a conventional way, had I followed what everyone was telling me, if I had compromised that heat, I would never have arrived or started where I've started off. Because it did get into the world. I've become an industry leader in my field. I do retreats. I have a new book coming out in a few weeks, actually. And it's amazing what can happen if you follow that inspiration in you. So I'm going to come back just for a second because it's been my greatest lesson in this. You can't plan an inspired life. How can you, like in my example, how can you figure out, I'm going to have a meltdown for 12 years. Some other woman's going to have a meltdown at the end of 12 years. We're going to hook up, and that's my business plan. There you have it. There you have it. There it is, right? What bank is going to go, oh, my God, that sounds so good to us, Ms. Kieves. Absolutely. Where do we sign off, right? But the deal is that those of us in this room, when you have a creative idea, you have an inspiration, it's never been here before. Like a lot of times we're trying to plan it from our linear minds. We're trying to look at what's worked in the past. How do I figure it out? How do I map it out? And it's really about taking it out. It's really about letting it out. And it's really about following what's inside us. So I just want to read you just 2 lines from my newest book, Inspired and Unstoppable. And I just feel so honored to be in this room. I mean, I was just taking that in while I was here of there's so many ideas sitting in this room. There's so much talent in this room. And to me, it's so important that we listen to what's inside us and that we do it our way. So I'm just going to read this to you briefly. I urge you to respect your own divine chemistry. Obey your rebel brilliance. Reject advice that hobbles your nature and race toward liberation instead. Run, run, run with everything you have into everything that you are meant to be. You deserve to succeed in your own way, unlike anyone before you and beyond everyone's wildest imagination, including yours. And our beautiful world will surely thrive because you do. Thank you. Thanks. Thanks.